To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate.
As we light our chalice, we share our church covenant. We promise to listen and learn together with compassion, curiosity, and an open mind. Engage in creating a warm and welcoming community. Work together and beyond our walls to address social and environmental challenges, and with our time, talent, and treasure, support our church in its mission.
Good morning. I'm Ron Soldberg, today's worship leader. However, our minister, Reverend Pam Romancic, will be returning next week to host and lead our Sunday service. It's so good to gather together this morning. We gather in a belief in the power of love, a love which upholds and sustains no matter what's going on in the world around us. If you're new and would like to receive regular communications, you can leave your information in the chat box or click the contact button on your website. Each week, folks are invited to stay on for a brief virtual coffee hour after the service. We split into chat rooms and can respond to the message, get to know how new people, and catch up on our shared but distant lives. A reminder that your staff is still working from home until it becomes safer to be in person. You may reach them either by phone or by email. A little later in our service, we will hold a space for meditation and prayer. If you or someone you know is in need of support, please do let us know. You can type your intention in all caps in the chat box, or phone or email the office. If you need help getting groceries or if some emergency arises, please do let us know so we can help. We have an emergency relief fund for this very purpose. I want to thank Julia Beckman, who's today's worship associate, and our regulars, Jamie, Suzanne, and Jean. This work is really a team effort with many hands. As we begin a new year filled with sorrow for our physical separation, but elation as we rediscover one another anew virtually, I invite you to light your chalice at home as we begin with a hymn, Wake Now My Senses.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see what our tool of the week is. This week, our tool is a flashlight. The flashlight represents the light of truth. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that encourages you to seek out your beliefs and carry the light of truth with you, even when it's hard. What truths and beliefs will you shine a light on this week?
I invite you to settle into your chairs, take a deep breath in and then out. Allow any anxiety with you this morning to drop down to the rich earth below. Spirit of life, mystery of mysteries, nameless and eternal, guide us in right relationship with one another. May our community know hope, joy, and resilience. May we continue to grow in our understanding, compassion, and love. Let our hearts, however full of joy or grief, know the connection of one another. We now turn to our portion of the service when we introduce our offering. While we were able to gather in person, we would have had one share the plate Sunday each month. Unfortunately, when we went to virtual, the amount gathered for those agencies doing good work in the world has dropped propitiously. A lot. To try and fix that, we've moved to a whole month of asking, but we still only share what is designated for the recipient. If you are able to give and have, please ignore the subsequent week's reminders. You can click and donate on our website and mark social action, or write in Food Empowerment Program, or send a check with Food Empowerment Program in the memo line to 17 West Maple Street in Hinsdale. Also, we have resources to help anyone within our community who needs some help during these challenging times. If you need groceries or help with an emergency expense, please contact Reverend Romancic or call the office. The generosity of this community has built up an emergency relief fund that we have to help. This pandemic has been going on for such a long time and seems only to be growing worse right now. We are bound together by our love and care, but we have to know if you need help. Just let us know. Here's a video from this month's recipient, the Food Empowerment Program.
Hi, I'm Lauren Ornelas. I'm the founder of Food Empowerment Project. I wanted to thank you so much for your support of the work that we do here at Food Empowerment Project. As a vegan food justice organization, you know the importance of the work that we do to help non-human animals not be a part of our food system. As vegans, we understand the importance of where our food comes from, and so part of our work is also done to help farm workers who pick our food. We're also trying to get people not to buy chocolate sourced from the worst forms of slavery and child labor so that we can eat chocolate that is truly cruelty-free and isn't at the hands of the suffering or human animals or non-human animals as well. We're also doing our best to work to help those communities, mostly Black and brown communities, that lack access to healthy foods, to ensure that everybody has rights to healthy foods but also has the ability to go vegan and eat their ethics if they want to. So thank you so much for all that you've done to support our work, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Hi, I'm Sharanya Krishna Prasad, and I'm the Executive Director of Food Empowerment Project. I want to thank the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale for featuring FEP and for collecting donations to support our work. FEP is a nonprofit organization, which means we're only able to do the work that we do as a result of contributions from wonderful supporters like you. And every donation makes a huge difference and will help us continue our work to create a more just and sustainable world in 2021 and beyond. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Mooney, serving on the board of the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale. This is a time in our service when we remember the good things this church does in the world and invite you to help support our work. You can go to our website, which is www.hinsdaleunitarian.org, and click on the donate button, or you can simply send your check in to the church office. I support this church for so many reasons. The members and leaders of this community inspire me to think differently, learn more, and most importantly, take action and consider ways I can live differently. I know myself well enough to know that I wouldn't be learning about and doing some of the work I'm involved in now all by myself. And for that encouragement and support, I am very grateful. Now, even though we can't be together, I invite you to say our offering words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, and the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with the people around us, and with all of the world. Thank you.
You know, I've never been so troubled about anything as I have been when preparing for today's program. The 1960s piece, Turn, 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 rendered by our own Jamie Passman, and the words from Ecclesiastes read by Julia Beckman, perfectly characterizes my conflicted emotions about the topic, A New Day. I chose that title, prematurely as it turns out, a few weeks ago, following Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's election victory, expecting that in fact their leadership would usher in a new day. However, the ensuing days and weeks turned me around with a dizzying effect. While I was elated by the Biden and Harris victory, the continuing calls for election recounts and accusations of voter fraud twisted me around. When the suits questioned the veracity of the elections in the 5 states were rebuffed by the courts, I was again facing the sunlight. Then, when the voice message of our president attempting to persuade the Georgia's Secretary of State, Ruffensberger, to overturn the state's vote became public, I became depressed that our nation's leader, in a once-in-a-lifetime move, had made blatant attempts to change the results. But I was uplifted by the victories by Georgia's new senators, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Well, could the new day be any better? Before I continue on with the next turn or twist, I'd like to assure you that the final turn or twist may be the real light at the end of this tunnel. And it may be a cause for some surprise, as it isn't the recent inauguration, Biden's address, or a series of presidential executive orders nullifying President Trump's actions, though they all qualify for a growing optimism and hope. But, during all these twists and turns, the coronavirus numbers were increasing to record levels here and abroad, but we became optimistic when we heard that the threat was being addressed by vaccines that had been developed in warp speed. Though we discovered that getting these vaccines distributed in significant numbers was running into challenges. Local and state governments were continuing to encourage us to distance ourselves from one another, mask up, and retain at home. However, at the same time, the president and his supporters were countering that message with a false optimism that the end was in sight and that such measures were politically motivated. We stay-at-homers discovered new activities and technologies such as Zoom that provided opportunities to get to know one another as well as ourselves in new ways. Indeed, an end was in sight, but I just had no clue as to what it was going to be. By the time I was beginning to feel like a humanoid pretzel twisting in the wind, then I expect that I was just replaying what most, if not all of you, were and are feeling. Then we looked forward with anticipation to January 6th, when Congress would formalize and finalize the election results by approving the Electoral College count. How could that be the final turn before the inauguration? But it all turned upside down when the Capitol was invaded by thousands of white supremacists and with little or no defense, and all spurred on by combat-like words from our president. Hope was reintroduced when the House impeached the president, but that wouldn't be finalized until the Senate made its play. And of course, that has yet to come. In the ensuing days, many historians and security experts have opined that this is truly the beginning of domestic terrorism, with or without Trump.
"'Tis day, I waken full of cheer and cast the nightmare's shackle. Hark, hark, the sanguine lark I hear, or possibly the grackle. Phoebus arises, so do I, then tuneful from the shower, descend with head and courage high to greet the breakfast hour. All's well with all my world, I seem a mover and a shaker, till from the doorstep with the cream I fetch the morning paper. Till I fetch in the paper and my hopes begin to bleed, there's a famine on the Danube, there's a crisis on the Tweed, and the foes of peace are clever, and my bond's no good whatever, and I wish I had never learned to read. The coffee curdling in my cup turns bitterer than tonic, for stocks are down and stakes are up, and planes are supersonic. Crops fail, trains crash, the outlook's bright for none except the coffiner, while empires topple left and right, though left rather oftener. And Russia will not come to terms, and Sikhs are full of passion, and each advertisement offends my wardrobes out of fashion. Oh, I see by the papers we are dying by degrees. There's a war upon our border, there's a blight upon our trees, and to match each wonder drug up that our scientists have dug up, they have also turned the bug up of a painful new disease. At eventide, the journals face in happier directions. They like a juicy murder case. They dote on comic sections. But in the morning, even books send shudders coursing through me. The outlook for the drama looks intolerably gloomy. And though the sun with all his heart is shining round my shoulder, I notice in the weather chart tomorrow will be colder. Oh, I wake in the morning and my dreams are rosy red, but the papers all assure me there's destruction straight ahead. And if the present's pretty dismal, why, the future is quite abysmal. And I think that I'll just crawl back to bed.
Start. Okay, Phyllis McGinley, roll back those covers and get out of bed. According to Albert Camus, an existentialist no less, in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. Pam Forder will read from a new book, Outside Inside, that shows us the way forward of love, hope, and anticipation as we move from the collective safety of our respective homes to that big, beautiful world outside. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. I haven't been doing this lately, but I'm going to share a story with you today. It's a beautiful story for this time, and it's titled Outside Inside. Outside Inside by Layun Pham. Something strange happened on an unremarkable day just before the season changed. Everybody who was outside went inside. Everyone, everywhere, all over the world. Everyone just went inside, shut their doors, and waited. Well, almost everyone. Some people needed to be where they needed to be. Outside, the sky was quiet, but the wind still blew and the birds kept singing. Raccoons came out and squirrels played in the streets, but the cars stayed away. The world felt a little different. Inside, we baked and cooked, made music and watched TV. We read and played games. Some of us worked a lot, and some of us couldn't work at all. We all felt a little different. Inside, we waited, and we worried, we laughed and we cried, and we tried to breathe. We made things together and did things alone. We hoped and prayed and wished. We were all changing a tiny bit inside. Outside, the world kept growing. Inside, we kept growing too. So why did we all go inside? Well, there were lots of reasons, but mostly because everyone knew it was the right thing to do. On the outside, we are all different. But on the inside, we are all the same. And we remembered that soon spring would come. Inside and outside. The end. Thanks for sharing the story with me.
And what does that invincible summer offer us, other than the one illustrated by outside, inside? The light at the end of the tunnel, that's it. In 4 words, the women among us. More generally, Black and minority Americans. What an irony. Our very saviors are those who have been discriminated against for centuries. Perhaps only those who suffer prejudice and disrespect can help us heal. Let us count the ways. I'll begin by citing 2 who have had immeasurable impact most recently. South Carolinian James Clyburn, who in the very nick of time endorsed Joe Biden, thus saving him for the successful run for the presidency. And of course, Georgia's Stacey Abrams, who helped amass Black Georgian support for Biden and Harris and the 2 winning candidates for the Senate, John Ossoff and Black minister Raphael Warnock of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. And that gives us yet another link, as that is the church where Martin Luther King preached so many years ago.
They want video.
Of course, their victories made it possible for Kamala Harris to serve as the first Black vice president and president of the Senate. And as long as we're referencing Atlanta, we can't skip Elizabeth Williams, a Black player for the Atlanta Dream women's professional basketball team, who countered the Dream owner Kelly Loeffler's anti-Black Lives Matter with a campaign of her own that helped lift Warnock over Loeffler for the Senate post. And another irony, the Atlanta Dream team got its name from Martin Luther King and his 60-year-old dream for America. You gotta love today's Atlanta while despising yesterday's Atlanta, which served as a military center for operations in the Confederacy. There are so many other names one could add to this Black and minority members of this 21st century honor roll. For instance, Letitia James, New York State Attorney, who's looking into Trump's finances. And closer to home, New Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, the first Black individual to hold that office. Well, we could go on long into the afternoon to list the Black and minority individuals who toil on our behalf, saving us from ourselves. We conclude with a youthful and honored Black poet, Amanda Gorman, who appeared at the recent inauguration with some of her words.
Somehow we do it. Somehow we weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Thus ends the reading.
Finally, we can all be so proud of our own here at the Hinsdale Unitarian Church have been especially active and leaders in the forefront in matters related to racism, prison, punishment, and parole reform. We won't mention their many names here for fear that we'll be leaving out others who have contributed mightily. But stay tuned to our weekly news and notes, periodic touchstone, and a website for meetings and actions that they are taking in which we can all participate. A New Day tribute to them follows.
You are the new day. You are the new day. I will love you more than me and more than yesterday. If you can but prove to me you are the new day. Send the sun in time for dawn. Let the birds all hail the morning. Love of life will urge me, say, you are the new day. When I lay me down at night, knowing we must pay, thoughts occur that this night might stay yesterday. Thoughts that we as humans know could slow worlds and end it all, lie around me where they fall before the new day. Before the new day. One more day when time is running out for everyone. Like a breath I knew would come, I reach for a new day. Hope is my philosophy, just needs days in which to be. Love of life means hope for me, born on a new day. You are the new day.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of the community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world, all the world.
The following is a reading by our beloved minister of almost 30 years, Ed Searle, who passed away a year or two ago. He was very, very understanding of the twists and turns that Ron has been speaking so eloquently about today. Here is a poem that he actually told us often. Always there is a beginning, a new day, a new month, a new season, a new year. Forever the old passes away, and newness emerges from the richness that was. Nothing is ever lost in the many transformations time works. What was in some way will be, though changed in form. Know this is a moment of beginning, and our life, individually and together, is full of richness, of freshness, of hope, and of promise. Thus ends the reading.
Season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn.